My name is Diana Buzari, and today we are going to chant again, Mohanji Speaks. I welcome you to our next day among 41 days of compassion. And today we're going to chant Mohanji Speaks mantra as well. This beautiful, fantastic sound by through immediate experience of energy, eternal, which is limitless, everlasting, and not just temporary. Something that cannot be created or destroyed, something which is infinite, and which is our true nature. Our true nature is this energy, soul, which is immortal, and our identification with that really works wonders in our potential and realizing that potential in our stability in everyday life as well. After chanting, we're going to listen and also discuss Mohan's podcast about the fear at the time of death and about the fear of death in general. This was a question by a listener, so we're going to elaborate more on it and see its advantages and disadvantages. The nature of this fear and usually these disadvantages, recognition how it is illusion, out of ignorance, how to deal with it, and also what might be some benefits of changing our attitude towards that. Okay. Close your eyes. Let's chant, shall we? So make yourself comfortable. Keep your spine erect. Shoulders relaxed and put it back. We're going to chant from the stomach, not from the throat, with the whole being, with the whole system, with the whole body. As if the whole body is a musical instrument. Pay attention through your body and the body parts. Make sure that every part of the body is relaxed. And focus on your heart center. Amazing love in your heart. As if you are embracing your favorite being there. Such depth, such immense love and acceptance coming out of it. Huge source of unconditional love, freedom, inner freedom. Inhale. Exhale. Feeling the love in your heart center. Pay attention to your spine as well. And bow down to this ultimate source of brightness, ultimate source of inner light and immense, limitless potential. Bow down to this sacred dimension of life, guiding and nurturing us. Inhale. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukami Babandhanat Mrityor Mukshiyamamrita. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukami Babandhanat Mrityor Yamamrita. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva bandhanat mrityurmukshiyamamrita. Om Triyambakam 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 yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva bandhanat mrityurmukshiyamamrita. Feel the sensations in your body, the new vibration, elevated energy level, and you can listen with your eyes closed.
Welcome to Mohanji Speaks. These are answers to questions from listeners. Thank you for sending them. Keep sending them. I will try to answer them as best as I can.
This question is from another listener, and they've been thinking about people that have never experienced much beyond their body and mind throughout their entire life. And so when they're close to death, they're gripped by fear. Is it possible to help them come out of this fear in the last days? And if it is, how can we do that?
Fear is connected to illusions. There is no room for fear. There is a saying that when you can sleep in brightness, darkness cannot touch you. That means when we are connected to our inner brightness, the real truth, there is no possibility of any fear to happen. The secret for a fearless existence is connection, deep connection to our inner brightness. We are bright inside. The real bright aspect of our existence is our Atma, the soul. And to reach that soul, the path is silence, not activity, not doership. It's silence. Whenever there is a fear, there is an ignorance. Whenever there is a fear, there is mind. Whenever there is a fear, there is darkness. Once we know what is the source of fears, we can easily come out of it. People are trained to live in the gross world. People are trained to behave in a particular way or to maneuver in a particular way in the gross world. And that prevents them from the opportunity of connecting to the brighter world inside us. In other words, people are used to candlelight while the sun is existing in the horizons. Or people are used to candlelight indoors, fighting their darkness, using it, while just by opening the doors and windows, the sunlight can come in and take the darkness away. We are conditioned by our education, conditioned by our notions, concepts, prejudices, conditioned by so many factors of life, where truth is missed. Truth is sitting inside us. That can be found only by connecting deeply, purposefully, and consistently with ourselves. How much time are we spending with ourselves? This is the all-important question. How much time? Are we spending any time at all with ourselves? That makes the difference. We can't find truth anywhere in the world except within ourselves. The world has all the varieties, good for experiences of the senses and mind. But that's not good enough to find the brightness inside. In fact, they are distractions from the pursuit to find the truth inside, the brightness inside. Imagine a person living in the gross world, engaging in the world of noises consistently, thinking that's the reality, suddenly realizes death is at hand. Death is the only companion that you are born with. As soon as you took birth, your death also took birth. And death walks with you and finally engulfs you, takes you over. Death is a constant companion, but we ignore its presence just like we ignore our shadow. Death is an inevitability. So why do we fear death? Because we have an instinct to survive. The instinct is inbuilt in us, and it tells us that survival is our birthright. It is so. It is indeed our birthright. But death is more powerful. As I said before, death is inevitable. And death has to happen at some point in time, whether we fear about it or not. So what's the best way to deal with this fear? Perfect awareness. All that is born will have to die. Death is our most loyal companion. All others will come and go. Death will stay. Awareness. Very important. And using this time of existence on earth to connect to the brightness within us will help us to stay with this companion without emotions. Understanding fully well its inevitability, its necessity, and its relevance. Awareness is the key. Awareness is essential for a good life and a good death. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Do contemplate on it. Do discuss. Awareness is essential for a good life and a good death. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Do contemplate on it. Do discuss with your friends. And let me know what you feel. If you have further questions, do send them to me. Thank you. This is Mohanji for you.
That would be the podcast. Short and concise. And how do you feel about it? Actually, we all have fears. We all have our instinct for survival, which is based on our need for food, right? So the food need is one of the basic parts of the instinct for survival. Then there is a need for procreation or need for sex, and the need for protection, the need for protection, let's say, in our habitat. And these three parts cannot be avoided. Actually, they are part of us, they're part of us. So the fear of death comes out of this fear of survival. And I could mention that the brightness inside shakes away and disperses all the fears, because fear is an emotion which comes out of ignorance. When there is confidence, when there is total awareness within us, then fear has no value. It just drops off by itself. Also, if we are conditioned and we have certain impressions, deep impressions of fear inside, then facing this fear or these fears is a solution. Come into the situation which causes this conditioned fear in us, and then face it to see that there is nothing there. Like we chart the fears of the dark room, and then when we turn on the light, there is no darkness anymore, and there is no fear either. So when we stay in brightness, then our inner connection with our own soul is deep and stable. Then there is no place for fear. There is no space for fear. We are conditioned in this gross world, and we usually live in a way which creates certain fears. So we have these acquired fears, not only derived one from the survival instinct, which is inbuilt in us, but all kinds of acquired fears then, which are totally useless and can prevent us from living with our full potential. So facing the fears and accepting that they are just an illusion, they come out of ignorance, and that they can be overcome. This is what gives confidence, and with a certain determination they can overcome. And so when we connect deeply, that's the one purposefully with ourselves, this also shakes away and disperses, removes all kinds of fear of death as well. Mahamrityunjaya mantra is one of the ways to overcome this fear as well. And it is also called the mantra of immortality, attaining and identifying with this infinite source and realizing that our body is transitory and it has its beginning, duration, and end, but what is permanent is actually our true identity. The permanent element, the soul element, energy element in us, which is abiding here, which is a resident in our body. That's the true essence, our true identity. And when we say it is indestructible, that gives our total new attitude, new dimension, new fearlessness and courage, which comes out of awareness. Then, why being aware? Okay. While being aware of it is good. There are examples of people who suddenly realized they're going to die. And what happened then? They found out, for example, in medical cases which turned to be fatal, or doctors said they were going to be fatal. They realized, for example, they're going to live, for example, 2 months more or 6 months more, no longer. What happens then? They felt such fear, all kinds of shock happened there, but they turned it into something positive and starting living much more productive, efficient, and loving life than they used to be. They started reforming their inner values. They started really truly think what the life is about. So this is what happens then. Also, these success books suggest there are a few authors like Robin Sharma or even Stephen Covey, that it's a good habit to, let's say, once in a month, go along the cemetery and think, this is the place where our ancestors lie, where our neighbors lie, and where we are probably going to lie one day. Actually, our body, not our true identity. So then it gives totally different perspective how we are going to spend our life. From then on, we do not take life for granted. Our time here on earth is limited. We do not take it for granted then. That is one walk throughout the cemetery recommended once in a while. Then I also heard that this is by Stephen Covey's suggestion, playing with the fear of death as well, but turning it and converting it into something positive. When you see yourself in your own funeral, so imagine your own funeral and then your body there, and all the people out there are putting the body into the so they pay respect. So what do you imagine these people are saying at your funeral? Imagine that. So when you imagine from this different time perspective and space perspective, then you also start planning your life more efficiently. You don't take your time for granted, right? Imagine what these people would say. These could be long-term goals or short-term goals as well. How we would like to be in this life, how we would like to behave towards others, how we would like to behave towards ourselves, the society. What we can detect our mission in the world much better and faster with more clarity and be very, very determined in disciplining ourselves to accomplish that. Mohanji mentioned several times worthwhile remembrances, and I remember some of them go like whether you're a king or a pauper, the final place is the burial ground for everyone. So whatever we have, whatever we possess in this life, material or immaterial, is going to go away. There was one rich businessman and his funeral was taking place. Then his colleagues were asking, one of his colleagues asked another one, how much did he leave? How much did he leave? And the colleague said, he left everything. So that's the truth which we need to accept and deal with it, to accept it without any fear, just as a matter of fact, because that's life. We took our body, and the moment we took our body, we also took the moment of end of this body. It has duration, right? So for the sake of experiences, let's make sure our experiences are as best as possible. And I wish you a wonderful day, to cherish your life, to cherish your time and use it effectively, not only to be productive, but also to nurture your production capability, be able to be productive, to be more loving, kind, and compassionate, to observe your emotions, thoughts, and words, to be able to perform amazing actions for the good of yourself and the world. Lots of love.